Welcome back to N's Notebook LM. We talk a lot about the mind, but what is it really? Today, we're diving into one of the boldest attempts to answer that question from none other than Bertrand Russell. He basically wanted to take the whole concept of consciousness, put it on a workbench, and figure out what it's actually made of. So, yeah, let's get into it.
So let me just ask you, straight up, what is your mind made of? I mean, think about it. We use that word constantly. It's where you think, feel, remember, all that good stuff. But what is the stuff itself? Is it an object? A location inside your head? Just a process? Well, Bertrand Russell's big idea is that whatever you think it is, you're probably wrong.
All right, so Russell kicks things off with something that seems super obvious. You're sitting in a chair. You know you're sitting in it, right? But the chair has absolutely no idea you're there. That difference, that awareness, we call it consciousness. And it feels like the most basic fact in the world. But here's the catch. The second you try to grab on to what that consciousness stuff actually is, poof, it gets really, really slippery. And this is where he makes his first kinda mind-blowing move. Check out this quote. He says, "It would be better to say it thinks in me, just like we say it rains here." Think about that. When we say I think, we assume there's an I doing the thinking. But what if that I is just a grammatical habit? What if thoughts just occur in the space of your head, the same way rain just occurs in a location? Maybe there's no little pilot, no I in the driver's seat at all. So, Russell's first order of business? He wants to get rid of what he calls the ghost in the machine. That traditional idea of a soul or a self or some little person sitting behind your eyes pulling the levers. He says, nope, that's a fiction. His whole project is about asking, what's left of the mind if we just kick that ghost out? Okay, this is absolutely crucial to understanding his whole argument. Russell says there is no separate act of thinking. The thought is the content. So that image of a coffee cup in your head, that's the thought. The words you're hearing in your inner monologue, that's the thought. There isn't you, the thinker, having a thought. The thought is just an event that happens. It's a total flip of how we usually see things. All right, so if the mind isn't a thinker and there's no ghost in the machine, then what is it? What are we left with? If we're going to build a mind from the ground up, what are the building blocks? Well, Russell says you only need 4 basic ingredients. And here they are. You've got your basic sensations, sights, sounds, you know the drill. Then you have images, which are like memories or daydreams. And then the two we're really going to dig into, instinct and habit. Russell's claim is that everything, and I mean everything we call mental, is just some combination of these 4 things. So let's start with instinct. You can think of this as like the factory settings for behavior. It's the stuff you don't have to learn, the pre-programmed actions an animal or a human just does the very first time it's in a new situation. It's the raw fuel, the undirected energy that just makes you go. And then you have habit. If instinct is the raw fuel, habit is the steering wheel. Habit is how experience shapes that raw instinct. It's the learning process, right? It takes those chaotic, instinctive actions and refines them, making them way more efficient and precise over time. So how does that actually work? Well, Russell uses this fantastic example of a cat in a puzzle box to show us. Picture it. You put a hungry cat in a cage. At first, it's pure instinct. It's just going nuts, dashing around, clawing at everything randomly, trying to get out. Then, by total chance, it bumps a latch, the door opens, and it gets the food. Now, the next day you put it back in. It's still a bit frantic, but maybe a little less so. Pretty soon it stops all the other useless movements and just goes straight for the latch. Boom. Instinct has been shaped into a habit. For Russell, this is what learning is.
Okay, so now we're getting to the real heart of it all. How does this new way of thinking solve that ancient, nagging problem of mind versus matter? How can a physical brain produce a non-physical thought? Well, Russell's solution is, it's really elegant, and honestly, it's pretty wild. It's called neutral monism.
The basic idea is this. What if the universe isn't made of 2 totally different kinds of stuff, like mind stuff and physical stuff? What if it's all made of just one kind of fundamental material? Let's call them particulars. And here's the key. This material isn't mental or physical. It's totally neutral. The only difference between your brain and a star, then, is how you organize that same neutral stuff. So check this out. Here's one way to group this neutral stuff. A physical object, say a star, isn't some thing out there.
According to Russell, the star is the complete collection of all of its appearances everywhere in the universe, all held together by the laws of physics. So the light hitting your eye, the light hitting a satellite, the light hitting a planet a billion miles away, all of that, taken together, is a star. But, and this is so cool, you can take the exact same stuff and group it a completely different way. Your mind, or your biography as Russell calls it, is just the collection of all those particulars that happen to be gathered together from your unique point of view. What holds that collection together? Not physics, but memory and experience. Your memories link today's sensations to yesterday's, creating a continuous stream that you call you. Okay, so get ready for the punchline, because this is where it all comes together. That little glimmer of light you see when you look at that star, that sensation, that's one of those neutral particulars. Now, when you group it together with all the other light rays from the star according to the laws of physics, it's a piece of the star. But when you group it with your memories and other sensations from your point of view, it's a piece of your mind. The exact same event is part of a physical object and a mind at the very same time. They're just two different ways of sorting the same deck of cards.
So you might be thinking, okay, that's a neat trick, but does it actually work for complex stuff? Well, let's take something like desire. Russell says with this new model, we can explain desire without ever having to talk about some mysterious internal feeling of wanting. It all comes down to observable behavior.
He calls it a behavior cycle. It's a pretty simple pattern, really. It kicks off with some kind of discomfort. That discomfort triggers a bunch of actions. And those actions just keep going until something happens that makes the discomfort stop, which leads to a state of calm, or what he calls quiescence. Think about being hungry. That's the perfect example. You feel a discomfort, right? Your stomach growls. That feeling starts the cycle. It makes you get up, go to the fridge, make a sandwich, and the cycle doesn't stop until you eat and that feeling of discomfort goes away. That whole process, the feeling, the action, the end result, that is the desire for food. It's not some separate feeling, it's the entire observable loop. So if you follow this all the way through, the implications are, well, they're huge. If our mind is really just this collection of sensations, habits, and these behavior cycles, then what does that say about the self, about who we think we are? Well, for one, Russell becomes incredibly skeptical about introspection. The idea that we can just look inside our own minds and find the truth. He basically says that most of the time, what we think we're finding in there is just a story we've made up. Just because you feel absolutely certain about something inside your head doesn't mean it's true. So if you can't trust looking inward, how in the world do you figure out what you really want? Russell's answer is simple. Watch what you do. Look at your own behavior, almost like you're a scientist studying an animal. Your actions, not your feelings, are what reveal the behavior cycles that are actually driving you. To know your own mind, you have to stop navel-gazing and start observing. And that brings us to this final, really provocative thought. If Russell is right, and if we strip away all our illusions about how special and complicated human consciousness is, could it be that we could learn more about how our own minds work by studying the simple behavior of an animal than by spending a lifetime trying to look inside ourselves? If this topic has captured your interest and you'd like to dive deeper, the book is called The Analysis of Mind by Bertrand Russell.